On page 12, there are 3 different sections. We'll do 1 or 2 from each section. Let's look at the first section. It's very simply combining like terms. In number 7, we have 3 different types of terms. We've got the x term, the y term, and the constant. Remember, the correct order in writing a term is alphabetical order and then constant last. So I know that x comes before y, so I'll do my x's first. 8x minus 5x is 3x. Then my y's, I've got positive 2y minus y, so that would be plus 1y, or just plus y. For my constant, I have plus 3 minus 1, which is plus 2. See how I have that in alphabetical order, x, y, and then my constant. All of these do the same. If they don't have 2 different letters, then you just do the variable term and then the constant term. Let's come down here. We are distributing the negatives in each one of these, and I'm going to do number 10 and 12 with you. Think of this as, instead of just a negative, think of it as a -1. I like to write a 1 there because it just makes it easier for me to visualize. So when I put the 1 there, then it's easier for me to think about how to distribute. So I've got -1 times -2x, which is positive 2x. -1 times -6y, positive 6y. -1, positive 4, which would be -4. That's the first one. Now let me go to number 12. This one is much simpler. I'm doing this simply because all of these have just the negative and this one has a negative integer. So I don't have to write a 1 there because I already have a number. So let me distribute -2 times positive 4x is -8x. -2 times positive 8 is -16. There you go. Just like that. Let's go down to number 13. This is similar, but it has more terms outside of the parentheses. So number 13, I have a negative, and then I've got my parentheses. So that is my clue that I need to distribute the -1. So I'm going to write 6y, because that comes first. Now I'm going to distribute the parentheses. -1 times 5x is -5x. -1 times -2y is positive 2y. -1 times positive 8 is -8. Do you think I'm finished? Maybe, but I noticed right away that I've got a y here and an x here, so they're not in order. But then I also see that I've got a y here and another y here, so I need to combine those. So let's go ahead and simplify this one more time. I'll do my x's first. I have a -5x. And then my y's, 6y plus 2y, be positive 8y. And then my constant is -8. There we go. -5x plus 8y minus 8. There you go. Last one on page 12. 20a minus 3 times that. So I've got a -3 times all of that. And let's keep in mind that this is a -3. So when I distribute, I've got to distribute it as a negative 3. So I'm going to, since I've got room down below, I'm just going to write it down here under it. So 20a is all by itself. And then I start distributing. Negative 3 times 6a is negative 18a. Negative 3 times negative 2 is positive 6. Now let's make sure that I'm finished. Well, no, I've got 2a terms, so I need to combine those. 20a minus 18a is 2a plus 6. There you go. That is your page 12. Now look on to page 13. Is more of the same. There's just more with more terms. So let's go and do numbers 4 and 8 together. Number 4, I have a negative 4 that I need to distribute. So the first thing that I will do is rewrite this whole thing, getting rid of the parentheses. So distribute the negative 4 times n is negative 4n. Negative 4 times positive 6 is negative 24. And then I can just copy out the rest. Minus 8w plus n. I see that I'm not finished. I've got 2 n terms. So I need to write it in alphabetical order. Got an n and a w. N comes first. Negative 4n plus n. That would make negative 3n minus 8w minus 24. And that is finished. Negative 3n minus 8w minus 24. Let's look at number 8. Most of these have negative numbers or integers that you're distributing. This one has a positive. The only reason I'm doing that is so you don't get confused by that. Positive is how you've always done it. So let's simplify this. The first step we do, we'll rewrite this, getting rid of the parentheses. So 10 plus 2r. Now I'll distribute. 5 times 2r is 10r, so plus 10r. 5 times 3v is positive 15v. Now I see that I've got some terms I can combine. When I put them in alphabetical order, r comes before v. So 2r plus 10r is 12r plus 15v. And finally, my constant, plus 10. There you go. You can do the rest on here. The last page is something new. The top is the same, and then we come down to fractions. Remember the word of. The word of means times. I like to put a little dot inside. Times of. So when you see multiplication, especially when you're thinking of fractions, that's when it's the most helpful for me. When you see multiplication, think of. So, in this, it's not just 1/2 times 10, it's also 1/2 of 10. Now, what's easier for you to think? Do you think it's easier to think 1/2 times 10, or is it easier for you to think 1/2 of 10? Because you know in your head, what's 1/2 of 10? 5. So if you want to multiply it out, you can do 1/2 times 10 over 1 equals 10 over 2 equals 5. You get 5. But if you just simply think, what's 1/2 of 10, you can skip all of this and go straight from that to that. 1/2 of 10 is 5. That's 1/2 of 12. 1/3 of 9. What's 1/4 of 16? Well, if you don't know, you can do it the long way. This way will always get you the right answer if you use, as long as you don't make any mistakes. If you can't remember, then it's fine to go ahead and multiply it out. Because the important thing is that you get it. So if I multiply it out, I get 16 over 4, and that gives me 4. So 1/4 of 16 is 4. Now, what happens if you have that with the distributive property? Well, it works the same way. What's 1/2 of 6x? Well, you can come down here and multiply it out. 1/2 times 6x. Well, that would give me, multiply across, 6x over 2. That becomes 3x. So, what's 1/2 of 6x? 3x. What's 1/2 of positive 10? Positive 5. There you go. So let's go down to number 10. Remember, think of the word of rather than times. You can do it both ways because they're both correct, but which one works better for you? Which one makes it easier, more obvious? That's the one that you want to use. So 1/3 of 12x would be 4x, because 1/3 of 12 is 4. Plus 1/3 of 9 is 3. See that? So you can go ahead and do the others. Obviously the top, that's just the same old review that you've done before. You've got these two, which we talked about, and then you've got these down here. Well, these two, that one's not a fraction, so that's an easy one. So go ahead and do this. You will be doing a lot more of this, so get comfortable with it.